Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for this last session of this Brahma's prayers in this auspicious Purushottam month. Right, so we'll offer our Mangala Charan and we'll start. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuha Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuha Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuha Varayate Gaura Vibhava Bhumestvam Nirdishta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannataya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Manda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnahara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshchali Visevya Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamshi Vata Tatastita Karshan Venu Svanir Gopir Gopinata Shri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. So we are seeing this very wonderful prayers of Lord Brahma, and this is in the time when Lord Brahma was, stealing the calves and the cowherd boys of Lord Krishna, cowherd boyfriends of Lord Krishna, and then he returned back after some time, and he could able to see that these calves, cowherd boys, and all of them are still there, and that is when he's actually offering this very wonderful prayers, seeing the amazing, glorious power and like opulence of Krishna, that Krishna alone could able to expand and then expand into all these cowherds boys and then the calves, and without any extraneous effort, Krishna could do this very wonderful task. So Brahma was like very, very astonished by seeing this, and then he's actually offering this very wonderful prayers. So just before we start, we'll just see the last prayer that we saw, it is a very, very amazing prayer. So which we saw in the last week. Atapi te deva padam bhujadvaya prasad leshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanye kopi chiram vichinman. So this is an amazing prayer which is very, very instructive. We can always keep on remembering this particular prayer. Prasad leshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno. Until unless we get a little bit of mercy of the Supreme Lord, it is not possible to understand Him, right? So, chanting the names of the Lord or studying and understanding the scriptures and all these things, it's not possible without the mercy of the Lord. So, always we should be having this mood of begging for the mercy of the Lord. If you don't become merciful to me, my Lord, how will I be able to understand you? How will I be able to render any devotional service to you? How will I be able to chant your names, right? So this is a very nice prayer. We can always remember. So now let's get into today's session. Text number 30. Tadastu me nata saburi bhago bhavertavanyatra tu va tirascham yena hame kopi bhavajjananam bhutva nisheve tava pada pallavam. So Lord Brahma is telling, my dear Lord, I therefore pray to you, pray to be so fortunate that in this life as Lord Brahma or in another life, wherever I take my birth, I may be counted as one of your devotees. I pray that whoever I may be, even amongst the animal species, I can engage in devotional service to your lotus feet. So Lord Brahma is offering this very wonderful prayer. And he's telling that, no, wherever I'm there, like, no, if even if I take birth as an animal or an insect or whatever may be my position, let me be a devotee of yours. This is the aspiration of a devotee. Here Lord Brahma is a great devotee, and without any doubt. In the beginning of creation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally shook hands with Lord Brahma. He's really very amazing personality in that sense, and he is a very dear servant of Lord. That's why Lord Brahma has been given such a big position to manage this universe, with a lot of living entities here. So with this kind of an amazing personality, so see the humility what he is having. So he's telling that, if whatever may be the life I may take, so I may become one of your devotees. Please count me as one of your devotees. Just now I did some pranks with you, and then I disturbed your Leela here in the Vrindavan. So, please don't get annoyed with this and kind of take me out of your devotee community. Please always keep me within, your in the association of devotees, right? So in this way, like Brahma is actually praying this wonderful thing. Whether I may go to animal species or whatever species, let me be a devotee. It's a very amazing prayer, to remember of. Okay, let's go to the next one. From here starts real appreciation of Lord Brahma to the residents of Vrindavan. Really, really very touching and very amazing way Lord Brahma actually glorifies. Here he says, Ahoti Danya Vrajago Ramanyaha Stanyamrutam Pitamatibate Muda Yasham Vibo Vatsa Taratmajatmana Yat Tripyathe Yat Triptaye Dhyapina Chalam Advaraha. So he's telling that, O Almighty Lord, how greatly fortunate are the cows and the ladies of Vrindavan, the nectar of whose breast milk you have happily drunk to your full satisfaction. How is it that Krishna drank milk from everyone of Vrindavan? Yes, when Brahma stole all the cowherd boys and the calves, so like Krishna expanded into all the cowherd boys and the calves, and the calves went back and they drank milk from their mothers, and then the cowherd boys, who are now Krishna, they all went back home, and then a very wonderful phenomena that happened. So all the mothers of Vrindavan, so they were having so much of affection for Krishna, more affection than their own children. So they would take care of their children, but then they would have more affection for Krishna. But after this Leela happened, after Brahma stole all the cowherd boys, and after that Krishna expanded into all these cowherd boys, so when they went back home, everybody was very astonished that what love they used to feel for Krishna, now they are feeling for their own children. So now the mothers are very, very happy. They don't know why this change has happened. And they are feeding their children with milk. So in the past, like, no, they used to feed the children for quite a long time, the breast milk. So here we see that these children were in Krishna in this form of these various children. So he drank milk from all the mothers of Vrindavan. So in this way, like everyone who had the desire to feed Krishna personally, they used to think that how fortunate Yashoda is. If we can also get such an opportunity to feed Krishna, how nice it will be. So, and Krishna satisfies that desire of all the Vrindavan Vasis, right? So he drinks milk from all the mothers, and he drinks milk from all the cows of Vrindavan. So in this way, they have a very, very intimate relationship with Krishna. No, it's not that somebody is serving Krishna and they are seeing. So obviously, like when Mother Yashoda is having upper hand, and she is the mother, and she gets more opportunity to serve. But then Krishna gives opportunity for everyone to serve also, right? So this is a very amazing pastime where Krishna gives mercy to every single living entity in the Vrindavan, right? So that's an amazing this one, and taking the form of their calves and children, right? All the Vedic sacrifices performed from time immemorial up to the present day have not given you as much satisfaction. So this is a very important point to note, right? So one time I was hearing that Lord actually he in the South India many times we might have seen the Lord's form as Ranganath. He's actually lying down, and he's in the Shayana form. And sometimes it is mentioned that the Lord is there is so much of Vedic hymns, and all these things are offered, and opulent worship is offered, and the Lord is very taking a very, very peaceful and graceful sleeping position, right? And when a nice comparison was made by one of the acharyas, so it's like no the Lord, the baby Krishna, when he was there, Mother Yashoda would engage a lot of brahmanas to chant Vedic hymns to offer protection to this baby child, right? So she used to do this thing. And when she used to do this, Krishna would go to sleep. And then when all the gopis, elderly gopis, they all come and they all sing the names of Krishna. Oh, Krishna, Gopala, Govinda, and things like that. Krishna would get up, and he would start dancing, and he would start reciprocating with them. So one observation is, if we are offering a very opulent worship to the Lord with very, very respectful, awful kind of a worship, where we are addressing the Lord as a great master, as a great controller, and things like that and all. So then what happens is no Krishna goes to sleep. Krishna is not. Krishna is like kind of okay. No, this is a nice, nice offering that they are giving me. So he goes to sleep, and then when the when the devotees actually chant the names of Krishna, and calling Krishna, and reciprocating, or lovingly reciprocating with Krishna, so then Krishna also reciprocates with them in a very, very nice way, right? So this is an amazing thing. Here we see that Krishna is so amazingly having this pastimes of being cared for as a child by every single mother in Vrindavan, and he likes it the most. And then here Brahmaji is telling, since time immemorial, so many people are offering Vedic hymns, so many people are chanting Purusha Shukta, so many people are chanting so many very, very respectful and prayers filled with a lot of respect and awe and veneration and things like that. So Brahma is telling, no, you would have not got as much satisfaction as you have got by being served by the mothers of Vrindavan. So that would have overpowered all the Vedic hymns that has been offered to you till now, till date. Right? So this is what Brahmaji is actually praying. So very, very amazing prayer, right? So next prayer is still more amazing. So here, Brahmaji is telling, Aho Bhagyam, Aho Bhagyam. So how fortunate, what a great fortune, right? Nanda Gopa Vrajau Kasham Yan Mitram Paramanandam Purnam Brahma Sanatanam. Right? So, Purnam Brahma Sanatanam, the full Supreme Personality of God, the full absolute truth, that Supreme Lord. Now, He is roaming around in the Nanda Gropa Vajaukasham. Right? So, He's just there in their home. So, let's read the translation. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd men, and all other inhabitants of Rajabhumi. There is no limit to their good fortune because the absolute truth, the source of transcendental bliss, the supreme eternal Brahman has become their friend. Right? So this is really, really very amazing. This one, right? So so much great fortune. Now it is mentioned that there are many people who are actually searching after Krishna, who are actually trying to worship Krishna and things like that. And for many millions of years, they have not attained Krishna. Now it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many lifetimes, no Gyanis, no, they may possibly attain me. No, and knowing that Vasudeva or Krishna is Sarvamiti, no, everything that exists is Krishna, or everything like no Sarvam, like no Khalam Vidam Brahma, or we can say like everything that exists is Krishna. No, he's able to see Krishna's presence, Krishna's hand in every aspect of the creation. So that is when no a person actually becomes no, eligible to get back to the spiritual world, or a person gets an opportunity to get darshan of the Lord and things like that. And here, that personality who's been sought after, who's been tried to achieve, by many, many great personalities for many, many lifetimes, he's just casually roaming around in the Nanda Maharaj's palace, in Nanda Maharaj's cowherd, this one, Brajabhumi. And this is an amazing factor. What is it that attracting Krishna? What is it that, it's so amazing about these people that, Krishna is attracted to them and he is just roaming around there. No, otherwise, no, if somebody worships the Lord and he's offering yajnas and he's offering so many prayers and things like that, so Lord may appear for some time, and we have seen many times in Srimad Bhagavatam that Lord appears to various devotees. He comes, he answers their prayers, like discusses some things for a little bit of time, and then he departs, right? So here we see Krishna is just hanging around here. No, for years and years he is hanging around with them, and there are so much of intimate, like pastimes that happens in this, Vrindavan. Why is it so? Why is it Krishna so attracted to this particular, land of Vrindavan, this particular set of people, and things like that? So there is a nice sloka that is there. No, Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanaya Staddama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadu Vargenava Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradara Naparaha. So it is mentioned that worship that is done by the residents of Vrindavan, that's considered to be the highest form of worship that can be offered to the Supreme Lord. There is nothing more higher than this. No, that's the highest form of worship somebody can offer to the Supreme Lord. So they don't have any tinge of no any contamination. They have pure love for Krishna, and that attracts Krishna. No, Sri Krishna Akarshani, that is one of the qualities of the bhakti. No, and that kind of a quality is there in the residents of Vrindavan, that they are able to attract Krishna. That they are able to like that Krishna is like roaming around in their village, and that's why Brahma is expressing this very wonderful words, Aho Bhagyam, Aho Bhagyam. What kind of fortunate situation it is. We are trying to chant the names of Lord, and hardly we are able to hear the names of Lord properly. Hardly we are able to meditate on the sound vibration. And here, the Supreme Lord is personally there, and he's just roaming around there. It's so amazing a position, right? Text 33. येषां तु भाग्यं महिमाच्युत तावदास्ताम् एकादशैव हि वयं बत भूरिभागाः एतदृशीकचषकैर् असकृत्पिबां मह सर्वाद्योग्रि उदज मध्वमृतास् savam te. So here Brahma is praying, Yet, even though the extent of good fortune of these residents of Vrindavan is inconceivable, we, the 11 presiding deities of the various senses, headed by Lord Shiva, are also most fortunate, because the senses of these devotees of Vrindavan are the cups through which we repeatedly drink the nectarian, intoxicating beverage of the honey of your lotus feet. Right? This is an amazing prayer. Now, where Lord Brahma is telling that the we are not so fortunate to be a Brajavasi. We are not so fortunate to be closely associated with you as these devotees, no innocent and pure-hearted devotees of Vrindavan are. But then, no, I'm very fortunate. Like he's not only counting him and all the other universal controllers, the especially the controllers of the senses. So we should know that there are different demigods, who can actually control all our senses, right? So in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can read that like there is a whole set of list of demigods are given. Who a particular demigod controls the eyes, the particular demigod controls the touch sensation, a particular demigod controls the ears, a particular demigod controls the nose. Like there's so many different demigods are controlling the various senses of every living entity. And here Brahma is telling, though I may not be so fortunate to be born and as an associate of you in the Vrindavan, but then we are the controllers of the senses. And whenever these Brajavasis see you, and whenever they get to smell you or taste you and things like that, so we are able to get an opportunity to associate with you. So these senses of these Brajavasis have become the cups of nectar for us. No, they are constantly, their senses are constantly engaged in your service, and we are the controllers of the senses. And in that way, like we are able to get an access to this intoxicating, amazing beverage, right? So, amazing beverage of this thing. So there is a question that has come. Which demigod controls the mind? Moon. No, Moon is the demigod that controls the mind, the tides in the ocean, and also the flavors or the juices and the flavors in the vegetation. So these three things are controlled by Moon, right? So that's why the people who are crazy, so they're called as lunatic. No, lunatic because Amavasya and Paurnami, so that affects their mind a lot, right? So the demigod that controls the mind is Moon. But then if we worship the Supreme Lord, so then we don't need to worship every single demigod separately, right? Deva Rishi, Bhutapta, Ninam Putranam, Nayam, like Nayam Kinkarana Rinicha Rajan, Sarvatmano Yash Sharanam Sharanyam, Gato Mukundam Parihritte Kartum. So for devotees of the Lord, we don't need to know even like know which of the demigods are controlling various various senses. We just by offering Gato Mukundam Parihritti Kartum. So by just surrendering unto the Supreme Lord, all these various rina that we have, it is all taken care of. Deva, the rina to the devas. So because they are enabling our mind, they are enabling our senses to see things, and without their help, we cannot get proper rains, we cannot get proper grains. No, we cannot live peacefully in this world. So we are indebted to the devas and rishis for giving us the knowledge. So without the help of rishis, we cannot get proper knowledge. So Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, all the other living entities. For example, if we just listen to a nice chirping of birds, nice, they are like, giving some nice music. So by hearing and relishing that, we become indebted to that, birds. No, we have to repay, to that birds. So that's why in the Vedic tradition, there is to be a lot of distribution of various things, to all the living entities, right? So Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta, relatives. Now, with the help of relatives, they are offering us some kind of a protection and family and things like that. So, wherein so many things are taken care of because of our relatives. No, Apta, no, Bhuta Apta, Nrinam, no, people in general, no, the society, no. So, the society offers some kind of a security to us, an opportunity to work, an opportunity to financially be stable and things like that. So Deva Rishi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitranam, no, the our Pitras, so our like forefathers, they kept the culture on, they kept the family lineage on, and that is how we are able to take birth in this family and things like that. So all this Rina, All this has to be solved, and this can be solved just by gato mukundam parihirti kartum. Now, if we have to solve one by one, there are so many devatas are there who are doing help to us, and there are so many entities in this world who are doing help to us. So we should be very, very grateful to them. At the same time, we should intensify our Krishna consciousness. Just by we becoming Krishna conscious, whoever is helping us, they will all get benefit. So in that way, we can actually repay the debt for all this, all these personalities. Okay. So we will get to the next sloka. Text 34. Tadbhuri bhagyam hiya janma kim api atavyam yadgokulepi katamangri rajobhishekam yajjivat yajjivitham tu nikilam bhagavan mukundas tva adhyapi yat padaraja shruti mrigyameva. So here Lord Brahma is telling, my greatest possible good fortune would be to take any birth, whatever in the forest of Gokula, and have my head bathed by the dust falling from the lotus feet of any of its residents. Their entire life and soul is Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda, the dust of whose feet is still being searched for in the Vedic mantras. Very, very amazing. The dust of the lotus feet of a devotee. It's a very important aspect. It is considered to be one of the Mahabals in devotional service. So, dust of the lotus feet of the devotees. When Hiranyakashipu asks Prahlad Maharaj that how did you get to know about all these things, worship of Vishnu, and how did you know who spoiled your head in this way, and how did you get to know? So then he responds to the question as, my dear father, even if I want to explain to you, you will not be able to understand what is actually happening. You will not be able to understand about Krishna consciousness. So if you have to know anything about Krishna consciousness, then he says that Mahi Yasham Pada Rajobhishekam Nishkinchananam Navrinitayavat. So he says that first of all, you should take bath in the dust of the lotus feet of a devotee. That is when you will be able to understand what is Krishna consciousness is all about, what I'm speaking about, and things like that. So until unless you get the dust of the lotus feet of devotees, you will not be able to understand what is Krishna consciousness. So this is an amazing thing, and it's always been glorified. Today morning, our Achyut Arjun Sakha Prabhu in the morning class, he was mentioning this pastime. So Ahalya, Ahalya was, she became a stone, and then when Lord Ramachandra was on the way to Mithila, he was brought by Vishwamitra Muni to fight and kill so many demons. Lord Ram did that, and after that, Vishwamitra Muni was taking Lord Ram and Lakshman to Mithila. And when he was doing this on the way, there was a hermitage, there was an ashram which was unkempt, and then it was fully fully in a disheveled way. And Lord Ram asked, no, he was that is the way Lord Ram is. He was like a very innocent boy, as if he doesn't know anything. He asks everything from Vishwamitra, no, what is this? No, what is this river is all about? What is this mountain is all about? What is this all about? No, he's asking about everything, and he's asking Vishwamitra, no, what is this hermitage, which is very, very in a dilapidated state and things like that. So then Vishwamitra Muni says, no, this is the ashram of Agastya, and then I suppose it's Agastya. And then the Ahalya, the wife of this great sage, she's living here in the form of a stone. And you should release her from this bondage. And Lord Ram actually goes to that place. He places his feet on the stone. And this Ahalya, she gets back her wonderful form. And she is so beautiful and amazing. She's liberated from her bondage of being in the stone form. And after that, they are going to some place, and Ram and Lakshman, they want to cross over a river. And then there was one boatman. And this boat, they were calling, Lakshman was calling, no, hey, boatman, come here. No, we want to cross. And when they're saying like this boatman is not at all coming. He's not responding. And then this Lakshman is getting angry, like, no, why he's not coming? So then this boatman is saying, he's not even coming close by. He's saying that, you see, you know, Lord Ram, he kept his lotus feet in on the Ahalya, on the stone, and it became like a beautiful lady. And then now I have only one boat. And if the Lord Ram keeps his feet, no, I don't have any problem with his feet, but the dust particles of his feet are so glorious. Wherever he touches, no, it may transform. And I'm very afraid, like, no, I have only one boat. And then, no, back at home, I have a wife also. Like, I don't want another one, right? So, if this boat transforms, what will I do? So then, no, that was a no problem for this boatman. And no, he was telling that the stone is very hard and strong. My boat is not that strong. No, my boat is soft. Like, it may transform, no, very quickly. So then the boatman himself gives an idea that, no, I'll I'll do one thing. I'll thoroughly wash the feet of Lord Ram. No, completely, no, thoroughly wash the feet, and then, no, I'll allow him to, no, sit on the boat. So this is also, he was also a great devotee of the Lord. No, he actually gets an opportunity to wash the feet of Lord Ram. So this is one of the things which we can actually see, that the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord, they're very, very powerful. No, in fact, in many, many places, this kind of prayers is offered. So Uddhava is offering similar kind of a prayer. After he comes, he is there in the what is that with Krishna in Dwaraka, and then Krishna sends Uddhava to Vrindavan to give a message, and Uddhava is the greatest devotee in Dwaraka. And then when Uddhava goes to Vrindavan, he goes and sees all these Vrajavasis. He's completely moved by the devotion of these devotees. And then he is praying that, no, if I can become a small grass, no, in this land of holy land of Vrindavan, and let all these Vrajavasis walk on my head, and let their dust fall on me, so that I may get a little bit of devotion to Krishna as they have, right? So that's the mood in which they are offering, and offering their prayers. So in this way, like, many, many great devotees have offering no such wonderful prayers. Okay, so now, Srikanpur, this question is not relevant to this session, so we will discuss it sometime else, or you may message me. Right? Okay, so we will continue the session. Okay, so this purport is amazing. This verse indicates that Lord Brahma desires to take birth even as smallest blade of grass in Vrindavan, so that the holy residents of Lord's abode may walk upon his head and bless him with the dust of their feet. Being realistic, Brahma does not aspire to directly achieve the dust of Lord Krishna's feet. Rather, he aspires for the mercy of Lord's devotees. This is the way of approaching the Lord, actually. No, we should always be no, not try to render service to Krishna directly, but try to render service to the devotees of Krishna, right? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Brahma is willing to take birth even as a stone in a paved footpath in the Lord's abode. Since Brahma is the creator of entire universe, we can just imagine the glorious position of the residents of Vrindavan. If Brahma is aspiring for this situation, this is the greatest post, right? In this world, somebody may say, like, what is the greatest post one may achieve? Somebody may say, like, president of United States or something like that. So, but then, no, Lord Brahma is the president of entire universe, and he is telling, oh, this is not a very good position. No, I want to become a resident of Vrindavan, right? So that's amazing. The Lord's devotees achieve their exalted position by unalloyed devotion and love. One cannot achieve such spiritual opulence by any puffed up material process of personal improvement. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada reveals the mind of Brahma as follows. But if I am not okay, Um, but if I am not so fortunate to take birth within the forest of Vrindavan, I beg to be allowed to take birth outside the immediate area of Vrindavan, so that when the devotees go out, they will walk over me. Even that would be a great fortune for me. I am just aspiring for a birth in which I will be smeared by the dust of the devotees' feet. Amazing prayer of Lord Brahma. Okay. Okay. Text 35. Esham Goshan Nivashinam Uta Bhavan Kim Devarate Tinas Cheto Vishwapalat Phalam Tvad Aparam Kutrapi Ayan Muhyati Sadveshad Iva Putanapi Sakula Tvam Eva Deva Pitha Yaddam Mamrita Suhrit Priyatma Tanayas Prana Shayas Tvatkrite. Okay, so here Lord Brahma is telling, my mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what reward other than you could be found anywhere. You are the embodiment of all benedictions which you bestow upon these residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her guising herself as a devotee. So, what is left for you to give these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives and hearts are all dedicated only to you? Amazing, amazing prayer this is. No, Lord Brahma is telling that because Putana imitated a devotee, she came like a gopi and she was trying to feed milk to Krishna. No, Krishna is taking this is an amazing aspect of Krishna's mercy. What is it that Krishna sees? Now, one time a devotee was mentioning that he was like so much in anxiety, thinking that if I do a mistake, no, Krishna is going to punish me, right? So Krishna is going to give me punishment. So I'm very, very afraid. I'm not so pure devotee, and I may commit so many mistakes and so many faults and things like that. So I'm so afraid that Krishna may punish me. And then no the discussion was that Krishna is not a person that he's just waiting for somebody to commit a mistake and catch him. Oh, now you have did a mistake, now I'm going to punish you. So he's not a master like that, he's not a person like that. He's very, very merciful person. And no, what is Krishna's personality then? No, if somebody does a mistake, he doesn't punish. So then, what is it that he is going to do? No, how is it? No, he's going to how he is going to act with or relate with people. So there is another aspect. No, different kinds of people we can see. No, people may be there like no, just trying to find a fault and some fault. They're just searching for a fault and catch that, and they'll be like no, hammering on that. So that's one kind of a person. Another person is okay, fair. No, I am not like seriously searching for a fault in you. I appreciate for your good, and I kind of whenever you make a mistake, like no, I'll just fairly give you a reciprocation accordingly. So that's kind of very, very formal and legal and kind of things like that. And then there is another kind of a person who is like, okay, no, I'll forgive your faults and things like that. I'll take only good. And Krishna is such a person. He is searching for good. No, he is searching for anything good you do. Like I'm ready to give you something, right? So he's actually searching for something like that. And here in this sloka, this is like very much evident that Putana, she came in the guise of a devotee. She is not a devotee. She is like no asadvi. No, it is mentioned lebe gatim datri. No, like no, she's been given the position of datri, but then she is an asadvi. No, she is not a sadvi. She is not a saintly woman. No, she came there to kill Krishna. And just because everything is wrong about her, no, nothing is right about her, but only thing is she came in the form of a gopi and she wanted to feed Krishna. Now, what she wanted to feed Krishna, even that Krishna is not seeing. She wanted to feed Krishna poison, but then Krishna is seeing that, oh, this lady, she came to feed me. No, she's like my mother. So she, no, she was promoted to the position of Datri. Datri means nurse. That is also one of the positions of mother. So it is mentioned in the it is mentioned that what is it, Atma Mata Gurur Patni, Brahmani Raja Patnika Dhenu Dhatri Tata Prithvi Saptaita Matarasmita. So there are 7 kinds of mothers, no, that are there. So who are all there? No, Atma Mata, one's own mother. No, Atma Mata Guru Patni, so the spiritual master's wife. And then Atma Mata Guru Patni Brahmani, no, wife of a Brahmana. Rajapatnika, wife of the king. And then Dhenu, no, Dhenu is the cow. Datri, so that is the nurse. who takes care of the children in the absence of the mother, or like assisting the mother. Denu Datri, Tata Prithvi, the earth. So these are all considered to be the 7 kinds of mothers, that a person has. And Krishna is offering this position of Datri, to this Putana in the spiritual world. It's like amazing, amazing kind of this one. Hmm. Okay. So Deepak Prabhu is asking, after these prayers, Brahmaji appeared as a mountain in Barsanadam. Yeah, so it is there. Like the 4 big mountains are considered to be the heads of Lord Brahma, right? So yeah, so Brahmaji is like mentioning that how wonderful is that you gave yourself. There is nothing more bigger an object that is there in the whole creation, which can be given off as a gift. So what is that biggest object? Krishna himself. And Krishna gave himself to this Putana and his family. So like all this like Putana is called as Baki also, because she is sister of Bakasur. And then the glorious family is very amazing. The brothers and sisters, like Putana is the sister and Bakasur is the brother, and Agasur is another brother. So all are demons, right? So because one of them became a devotee, one of them went back to the spiritual world, became a Datri. So Krishna is merciful upon their family members also. He is giving mercy to them also, right? So Brahmaji is telling that you have given yourself off to these people already. What is left over to give to your dear devotees who have dedicated everything in your service, right? So it is so amazing. Brahmaji is telling that so what is left for you to give to these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives and hearts are all dedicated only to you, right? So they have offered so much of dedication. They have not faked like Putana. No, they really offered, right from the core of their heart, they have really offered, their dedication. So Krishna actually mentions to the gopis of Vrindavan that, like, I cannot repay you. Whatever you have done, it is beyond my capacity to repay you, because Krishna is very, very grateful person. If you do a little thing, his this one is to offer a lot, more in return. But somebody offers himself completely, Krishna also gets bowled over. He doesn't have anything to offer further. And then Krishna tells that you just be pleased, you just be satisfied with your devotional service to me. I cannot give you anything more than uh, like I don't have anything in this world to give, or I don't have anything in the whole creation including myself to give, right? So that's how much Krishna becomes indebted to his devotees, right? Okay, text 36. Tavad dragadyastena stavat kara griham griham tavan mohangri nigado yavat krishnana te janah. My dear Lord Krishna, until people became your devotees, their material attachments and desires remained thieves, their homes remained prisons, and their affectionate feelings for their family members remained foot shackles. Hmm. So until unless we become devotees of the Lord, so this material things, what is there, it can actually bind us. The moment we become a devotee of the Lord, every object, everything can remind us of Krishna, right? So everything that we see, we can think of Krishna. Oh, this tree is made of made by Krishna's energy, and everything that I can see is made of Krishna's energy. So in this way, like, we can actually see Krishna everywhere. A devotee, for him Vishwam Purna Sukhayate, and for a non-devotee, the very same, the world will be a source of bondage. Okay, so we have come till where 36. Okay, we'll quickly see this. My dear Lord Krishna, until people become your devotees, okay, this we saw. Apparently, the residents of Vrindavan, the abode of Lord Krishna, are simple householders engaged in ordinary affairs such as herding cows, cooking, rearing children, and performing religious ceremonies. However, all these activities are intensely engaged in loving service of Lord Krishna. The residents of Vrindavan perform all activities in pure Krishna consciousness and thus exist on most exalted platform of liberated life. Otherwise, the same activities performed without Krishna consciousness constitute ordinary bondage to the material world. right? So the very same activities the Vrindavan Vasis are also doing. No, we are switching on grinder and mixie, and they are like having their grinding motor and things like that. So no, which is handheld. This one. So, but then whatever they are doing, always they are singing the glories of Krishna. Always they are preparing everything for Krishna's satisfaction, and in this way, no, their household life, their engagement in all these household affairs, everything becomes Krishna conscious. Everything becomes a source of no supreme bliss, and they are in the liberated state. So, but then without Krishna consciousness, the very same activities become the bondage, right? Very same activity becomes bondage. Okay, so let's skip a little bit of the purport and let's go to the next sloka. Text 37. Prapancham nisprapanchopi vidambasi bhutale prapanna janatananda sandoham pratithum prabho. My dear master, although you have nothing to do with material existence, you come to this earth and imitate material life just to expand the varieties of ecstatic enjoyment of your surrendered devotees. So, actually speaking, no, the Krishna's activities are not material. It appears like material because spiritual activities and material activities, only difference is Krishna is there in the center, and either Krishna is there in the center or not. No, that's the only difference. So, externally speaking, the spiritual activities and the material activities will look alike. No, they will not have much difference. So only thing is, no, in spiritual activity, everything centered around Krishna. So no, it for common people's eyes, no, Krishna's life looks like a ordinary life. So, but then Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Viti Tatvataha Tyakva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mamiti So Arjuna. Right? So, like this, Krishna's pastimes with his devotees, this is not a task of the material world. No, this is beyond the purview of the material world. Right? So, let's see the purport a little bit. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that just as a lamp does not seem to shine as brightly in the sunshine as it does in the shade, so as a diamond does not seem as brilliant on a silver platter as it does on a plate of blue glass. The Lord's pastimes as Govinda do not seem as amazing in the transcendental abode of Vaikuntha as they do within the material realm of Maya. No, because there is this huge contrast that is there. So in the spiritual world, everything is spiritual, but then in the material world, everything is material. And in between that, no, Krishna's glorious pastimes are happening. There is a very, very stark, no, there is a contrast that is there. Easily we can see that. So Lord Krishna comes to the earth and acts towards his pure devotees exactly like a devoted son, boyfriend, husband, father, friend, and so on. And within the darkness of material existence, these brilliant liberated pastimes give unlimited ecstasy to the surrendered devotees of the Lord. Right? So this is the source of no ecstasy for devotees. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam. Right? So this the kathamrita of the Lord, the wonderful glorious acts of the Lord. No, that's so amazing. No, that's the sustaining factor of the devotee's life, right? In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, at Srila Prabhupada quotes Lord Brahma as follows: I can also understand that your appearance as a small cowherd boy, a child of cowherd men, is not at all a material activity. You are so much obliged by their affection that you are here to enthuse them with more loving service by your transcendental presence. Okay. Text 38. Jananta eva janatu किं भुक्त्या न मे प्रभो मनसो वपुषो वाचो vaibhavam tava gocharaha. There are people say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think that way. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulence are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. Now we can understand Brahmaji has every single detail of this entire universe within his head. That is how much the capacity of Lord Brahma is. And he is telling that glories of Krishna is like unlimited. No, some foolish people may say, I know everything about Krishna. I don't dare to say that. No, Brahma is saying that I don't dare to say that. You are so unlimited. No, your pastimes are so unlimited. Everything about you is unlimited that my mind, words, and no body and words is not able to reach the extent of your glories. So you are really, really very amazing personality, right? Anujanihi Mam Krishna Sarvam Tvam Vetsi Sarvadra Tvam Eva Jagatam Nato Jagat Etat Tavarpitam. It's an amazing sloka. He says, "My dear Krishna, I now humbly request permission to leave. Actually, you are the knower and seer of all things. Indeed, you are the Lord of all universes, and yet I offer this one universe unto you." So this is an amazing prayer. So it's everything belongs to Krishna. And what will Lord Brahma offer to Krishna? So Brahma is begging this one to leave. No, I want to leave now. So I beg your permission to leave. And then you are the Sarva Vyapi, and you are Sarvagya. No, you know everything. And then you are the master of all the universes. So, but I would like to offer this one universe to you. It's like offering the Ganges water back to Ganges. No, that's a way of worshipping. In the same way, like here, Brahmaji is telling, it's all belongs to you, but then still, no, I offer this universe to you. The very same thing even Indra did. When Indra was he surrendered to Krishna after the Govardhan Leela. So Indra actually made an abhishek of Krishna, and the abhishek water is collected as a kund. That is called the Govinda Kund in Vrindavan, and that abhishekam is a coronation of Krishna as the actual Indra. Krishna is the actual lord of the heavenly planets. So now here we see that Brahma is telling that, oh no, I am not the head of this universe. No, you are the head of this universe. I offer this universe not to you. So in this way, right? So he's actually offering this prayer in this way. So we'll just read a little bit about this. Uh, My dear Lord, although you are the supreme Lord of all creation, I sometimes falsely think that I am the master of this universe. I may be the master of this universe, but there are innumerable universes, and there are also innumerable Brahmas who preside over these universes. But actually, you are the master of them all. As the super soul in everyone's heart, you know everything. Please, therefore, accept me as your surrendered servant. I hope that you will excuse me for disturbing you in your pastimes with your friends and calves. Now, if you will kindly allow me, I will immediately leave so you can enjoy with your friends and calves without my presence. So, no, this is a prayer that is Brahma is making. So this, like, renunciation or offering something to the Lord, means it is not the external stuff that we are offering. No, we are offering flower or a fruit, or we are offering our time in service to the Lord. It's not the externals that we are offering. It is no more internal. This one, it is not mine. No, this object that I'm offering is not mine. It is yours, Krishna. No, please, you take it for your enjoyment. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada explains that when a small child comes to the father and says, no father, no, can you, no, you also take one chocolate. So the chocolate is brought by the father, but then the child says, like, no, you also take this sweet a little bit. And the father feels so happy. No, the father, no, uh, he's the owner of everything. Like, no, he's the one who bought, no, the sweets also, no, to this kid. But then when the kid offers back to the father, no, the father feels very nice. So that's the way, like, no, Krishna likes, no, when we offer something to him, everything belongs to him. But then when we offer a small thing with love and devotion, no, Krishna, like, no, please accept this humble offering. I know this is all yours, but still, no, I have secured a little bit of this one. No, please, you take it. So Krishna becomes very, very pleased, no, in that way, right? Okay, so let's go to the last sloka of this series, text 40. Shri Krishna Vrishnikula Pushkara Josha Dayin Shma Nirjara Dvijapausha Dhi Vriddikarin Uddaram Sarvara Hara Kshiti Rakshasa Rakshasa Drug Akalpamarkam Arhan Bhagavan Namaste. Here Brahma is saying, my dear Sri Krishna, you bestow happiness upon the lotus-like Vrishni dynasty and expand the great oceans consisting of the earth, the demigods, the brahmanas, and the cows. You dispel the dense darkness of irreligion and oppose the demons who have appeared on this earth. O Supreme Personality of God, as long as this universe exists and as long as the sun shines, I will offer my obeisances unto you. right? So here, actually speaking, here it's mentioned, a nice thing is mentioned in the purport. According to Sanatan Goswami, Lord Brahma here engages in ecstasy of Nam Sankirtan, right? So we can see this thing. Shri Krishna, Vrishnikula Pushkara, no? It's all different synonyms of the Lord, right? So the various different synonyms of the Lord is mentioned. So here, Sanatan Goswami is telling that the Lord is engaged in the Nama Sankirtan, glorifying the names of Krishna, right? So Krishna expertly suppressed the demoniac population of the earth, and then like so many different things it comes actually. Krishna appears and then he suppresses all the Ashatam Shitibujam. So in elsewhere it is mentioned like that. The miscreant kings, he actually destroys all of them, and then he actually establishes dharma in this way. And in the same way, like here also, in the right now, there is so much of adharma is happening, and Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna actually descends in the form of the Harinam, and then the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have all assembled to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is the way to experience Krishna in Kali Yuga, by chanting the names of the Lord and by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll just go to the end of this one. Very nice prayer Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is offering. Now he's telling that, may these prayers of Brahma, which take away all doubts and broadcast all um, defective conclusions of devotional service, becomes the expert craftsmanship of the foundation of my consciousness. So why is it that Acharya is like speaking in this way? Because these are all things what Brahma is telling, that I have made this fault, I have made this fault, I have made this fault, please excuse me. This is very important. We are also making the same kind of faults. No, we have to analyze these prayers. We have to take these prayers to the heart and see that I also have this kind of a tendency towards the Lord. I am not like these Vrajavasis who are trying to satisfy the Lord just for his satisfaction. I'm doing things. No, even while doing devotional service, I have an ulterior motive. No, I have something to achieve from this devotional service, right? So I'm not a pure hearted person. I'm not a pure hearted Vaishnava. I have so many ulterior motives, right? So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling, let this prayers become the what is it? Let this prayers carve out my personality as a devotee. No, let this prayers give me a shape as a devotee, right? Let me meditate on these prayers, and let me weed out all these kind of anarthas from my head, so that I can become a nice devotee of the Lord. I can become a devotee who can offer pleasure to Krishna, right? So offering of devotional service means offering sweet rice, and contaminations of the idea to um, uh, enjoy things of this world, or enjoy based on the service of the Lord. Now, if I do this service, then everybody will appreciate me. I will get some good name and fame. No, this is all contamination in the service. So when we do this contamination in the service, the devotional service is like sweet rice, and we are adding the sand particles into the sweet rice, and we are offering to Krishna. Krishna, you see, like, no, I made this nice sweet rice, please have it. And what is that offering? It is filled with sand particles. So in the beginning stages, when we do devotional service, we have so much of anarthas, we have so much of material attitudes. We are actually offering only mud, and saying that, no, Krishna, please take this sweet rice. And then over a period of time, the mud particles reduce, and then over a period of time, the sweet rice become pure sweet rice. No, that is the stage of prema. No, like a person can attain that kind of a stage by sincere practice of devotional service, especially practice of chanting the names of the Lord with lot of absorption and lot of care. So I request all the devotees to take this very, very seriously. And thank you all very much for being a very nice part of this Purushottam Vrata. So we could able to read this Lord Brahma's prayers, and try to meditate upon that. So kindly go through these prayers again and again, and then try to implement some of these aspects in your life, and also try to try to see that our devotion to Krishna is made purer and purer as the days progresses, right? So thank you all very much for your kind attention and being part of this Purushottam Vrata. Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we will finish here.